The NFL Combine for 2026 from Indianapolis, Indiana is underway, where Bears GM Ryan Poles find his next hidden superstar. And it's the Bears and Falcons deal for a third-round a draft pick, compensatory draft pick still on. We'll give you our observations coming up. In baseball, the Cubs are off to a rough start in spring training, while the White Sox have hit a rough patch, but still young players are impressing their manager and their fans. In college basketball, the final line night will tip off of the biggest game of the season thus far as they'll face off against the Michigan Wolverines. And that and the return of our girl, Miss Christine the Queen Manika, with our weekly shenanigans. That and a whole lot more in Second City Sports Friday Fun starts now.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Keep him on the field. And this one, they're dragged into left center field. Going back is Churio at the wall. Get out! Robert Jr., his fourth of the season. And the Sox take the lead 2-1.
Armstrong gets into another one. Sends Edman back. He's watching it land in the stands. What a night from Pete Crow Armstrong. Goes wide, up the guard again. And he scores. What a play!
On Jordan Bennington, no chance at all for the Blues netminders. Connor Bedard. Wow.
Getting what a pass. Buzelis with the fade on the drive.
They're blitzing. It's picked up. Caleb throws. Middle of the field. Loveland catch. Breaks away the 30. Loveland 20. Loveland 10. Loveland end zone. Touchdown Bears.
Welcome to this Friday Fun edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded in real live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss LaKeena McGee, which is she. Sidney Brown here, you know it's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We're unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a sports talk radio show, you got to hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given LaKeena full powers to give you Dumbos to Bill and Beer Boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must shout out our live gainers, LIVE Live Entertainment Gainers. Checking us out live in the living color at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels at 12:20 p.m. Central Standard Time. But let's not forget much love to the replay gainers checking us out on the replay, also at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. Don't you ever forget our motto where we talk sports, music, or entertainment. We will provide.
It will provide with us some of the best of Second City Sports, of course, as we gear up for our last show of the month of February. Our girl Christine Mann from KXRB will be joining us to, of course, for our weekly shenanigans. We'll talk some sports media news and such as NBC goes nostalgia for their NBA coverage. Speaking of NBA, the Bulls take-a-thon continues as they've now lost 11 in a row after losing to Portland last night. A very eventful week in the NBA, to say the least. We'll talk about that. Illinois is gearing up for a big game against as they host Michigan down in Champaign tonight. A very important game because if they win, they'll clinch at least a share of the Big Ten title. If not, well, Michigan will win it outright. Another great matches coming up in college hoops. And a lot more. But first, so let's kick things off with the NFL as the combine commences down in Indy. Is it going on right now as we speak? We'll do Bears first, and then we'll extend to the rest of the league. The Bears, for one, the NFL made official the salary cap for this coming season, which will the official calendar year will start in a couple of weeks from now. $301.2 million. That was a number that was going around. and such. So you get 301.2 million. You add another 77.6 million in benefits. That's about 370, just under 379 million per club and player spending. That's how much growth it is in the NFL from the TV contracts and such. But unfortunately, the Bears are gonna feel the pinch because there have been various rumors of guys like Tyson Bagent, Gervon Dexter, Tremaine Edmonds. Could those guys be on the move? Maybe the DJ Moore rumors won't go away either. We've been hearing some different things. The compensatory picks with Atlanta for me and Cunningham, even Cunningham, who's now back in Atlanta with the Falcons. He said that the Bears should get something, but the NFL says, not so fast. But a lot of stuff going on there as well, Sid. Where do you want to start?
Let's start out with the salary cap issues first. Of course, you mentioned about the potential players being moved to create more room in time for free agency for the new league year in a couple of weeks. Tremaine Edmonds, as we talked about since the season ended a couple months ago with a loss against the Rams in the playoffs. Tremaine Edmonds, very nice player. He helped out the Bears a lot during his 3 years plus years here in Chicago, but the way that Dennis Allen, the defensive coordinator, wants to run his schemes, I don't think Tremaine Edmonds, from a technical standpoint, fits his plan. So I think he could be the next guy cut. You mentioned about Gervon Dexter, second round pick, has not quite lived up to this expectations. LaKeena, I think we talked about before the start of training camp last season that this was perhaps I got that hidden itch that this would be the last go around for Gervon Dexter. Of course, he's on a rookie deal. His contract runs out at the end of next season, so he's Bears is seeking potential trade partners with him. Like you said, the DJ Moore rumors won't go away, even though he did address what happened or didn't happen in that interception from Caleb in last year's playoff loss to the Rams. Of course, people forget he's still in the middle of that 4-year, $110 million contract that he signed before the start of the 2024 season. And, of course, Tyson Bagent, his name's been out there because, let's be real, LaKeena, the quarterback free agency class is not good. I know Malik Willis of Green Bay heads that free agency class, but outside of him, Fernando Mendoza expected to go number 1 to the Las Vegas Raiders. That's not much out there in terms of drafted quarterback, so you can see why Tyson Bagent's name is very high. So the Bears have some tough decisions to make. We've been saying this for weeks now, and Ryan Poles will have some tough decisions to make. He already knows that. The fans just got to accept that reality as well.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. LaKeena, McGee, City Brown with you as we talk some NFL and such. I mean, Edmonds, went to a couple of Pro Bowls his first couple of years with the league when he was with Buffalo. He's still very productive. Doesn't quite fit Dennis Allen's scheme. So, I can see them trying to get something away, but I think they may just have to cut him before the league year starts in a couple of weeks. I know they're going to try to get something for him, but I don't think you're going to be able to. Especially with a guy, he's still 27 and still very productive when he's healthy. So I'm sure he'll get his he'll get some pursuers, his share of pursuers somewhere. Dexter, I mean, look, he was actually pretty good last year, even though he hasn't lived up to the hype. He's a second rounder, so you may not get a lot for him either. The DJ Moore stuff won't go away, and I'm thinking that that at some point, I don't know. I mean, if you could get a Max Crosby, I know a lot of folks, a lot of Bears fans say, "Oh, hey, put him in with the Max Crosby trade." Well, there's no guarantee that Trevor Civic, who's the GM with the Raiders, he already said that he's not. They're not going to trade him. So unless, of course, that they entice him, then maybe that's the case. You'll get the haul, as some folks say. But who knows with that? I know when they said to the NFL, I know Malik Willis is a big name, for quarterbacks. Also, Anthony Richardson. That's a name that could be on the move too, because the Colts, them and the Colts have agreed to, let him pursue a trade. We know that Minnesota, if you saw what happened a couple years ago when the Vikings played the Colts, Kevin O'Connell, of course, I know he's a big fan of his. That would be might be a good way for him to push J.J. McCarthy. So he's might be a name too. So there's a lot of names as such. And of course, the combine itself, you got a lot of rookies, Fernando Mendoza. I know that he'll definitely, very likely end up going to the more likely go to the Raiders. And of course, George Pickens, the Cowboys have they're going to place a franchise tag on him, so securing his rights. Trent Williams, of course, the All-Pro offensive tackle from the 49ers. I know a lot of Bears are going to try to see if they can get him. he's not going anywhere. They're gonna have to. They may have to do some creative maneuvering to kind of do a lot of tag odds with some money, with some incentives. So that part I think is that he's not going anywhere either. So a lot of things are happening right now down in Indianapolis.
Yeah, going back to the Max Crosby rumors again, this feels like we've been talking about this almost every show. Listening to interviews from the Chicago media, interviewing national pundits and insiders and whatnot. We saw that article, I believe it was from Bill Barnwell from ESPN a couple of weeks ago, that he thinks that the Raiders will accept the Bears' first round pick for this year at number 25 and DJ Moore from Max Crosby. Others said, nah, the Raiders are going to ask for more than that, maybe multiple first round picks, maybe an extra pick to pair up with DJ Moore to get Max Crosby. Of course, with any negotiations, you start out high, you work your way into see you come to a middle ground. But LaKeena, I think that the Bears are a dominant pass rusher away, but I think the way that Ryan Poles wants to go about this, given their financial situation, you'll have to find that diamond in the rough in the draft. Now, this is going to be a big year for safeties and defensive edge rushers in the draft. I'm sure we're going to get more deeper to this on Monday on our next show on Monday. But Brian Post knows, he saw this as well as you and I did, and the rest of the Bears fans saw last year, that the lack of consistent pass rush cost this team a trip to the NFC Championship game. We talked about the Caleb interception 1,000 times. I'm not going to do it here, but the lack of consistency in the pass rush was really the difference between the Bears being an average defense and going to be a very good to great defense. So I think Ryan Post is going to turn every stone until he finds the diamond in the rough. Yes, I get it. At some point, when you think that you're in this window, you had to take a chance. But I think given the Bears' financial situation, is not they're not ready to take that chance yet. Because I heard someone say this last night. In a couple of years, you're going to have to pay Caleb Williams if he continues to improve and the Bears continue to go to the playoffs and win some more games. You have to pay Roman Duze, who's going to his third year next year. So, and after that, you're going to have to pinch pennies. That's the way you're doing business in the NFL in the salary cap era. So, Ryan Post is going to almost hit almost every draft pick from the foreseeable future because of their financial situation, and that's going to be the tough challenge going forward.
And like you said, you got David Bailey from Texas Tech. I know he had the great measurements, and his 40 was really solid yesterday. I know his name's going to be floating around. He might not be around though. He might go in the top 10 or top 15. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Bears do with this, because Kevin Byard, he might be gone. I know he wants to stay, but he also might be gone too. So I think there's going to be a lot of things here. This defense in particular is going to look, especially that front seven, is going to look a lot different next year. And plus, there's no guarantee. And I've been saying this for weeks now. There are no guarantees that the Bears will be as good as they were this year, next year, because a lot can happen. Teams improve. Look, we saw what happened in the Super Bowl. Look, Patriots and Seattle. Did you really thought that those teams were not on the radar for a Super Bowl? So a lot can change in the NFL. So you might be the window's open, but it might already be closed.
And we said this throughout this past season. We'll say it here, and I think GM Ryan Poles recognized this too. Depth is going to be now more important than ever because, like you said, those potential stars that were on the team last year, they may not be back. Depth is going to be important, especially at those positions like defensive end, safety, and linebacker too. And with those names you just mentioned, with Kevin Byard, he may not be back. I think they want him back, but because of the price tag, he may not be back. I think Jaquan Brisker is gone. Nashawn Ryan is all of a sudden is gone. He was a great story, and he's definitely going to get a bigger paycheck. And congrats to him wherever he lands. So depth is going to be more important more than ever for the Bears. It's just that you have to get that type of player that fits into Ben Johnson's culture.
Real quick, I know we're up against. I know we got a good break, but what do you think about Trent Williams in that situation now in San Francisco?
Ooh, I know age is creeping up on him. I know he was injured the last couple years, and I would take a flyer on him if I was the Bears? Probably not. I think if you're the Bears, you probably have to go to the cheaper route because let's be real, Ozzie Trapello is going to miss most, if not all, of next year. I don't know how healthy Theo Benedict is going to be before the start of training camp. So we'll see about that. But Trent Williams, yes, he's a veteran that can bring some experience to that line. But he's up there in age. He's been injured the last few years. So I'll call me crazy, but I would take a pass.
No, right there. Plus, I don't think they're not going to let him go. I just don't see John Lynch and Kyle Shannon, that guy go. He's not going to get $38 million. They're not. No one's going. I know he's he's like an 8-time All-Pro and been to the Pro Bowl like a dozen times in his career. But like you said, he hasn't played in the last few years, so I just don't see it. I think he's going to stay in San Francisco. They're just going to have to rework the numbers and probably just give him a lot of incentives for a new deal, to a 2-3-year deal, like I'm sure that he wants.
Yeah, and speaking of reworking deals, that's something that Ryan Post, from what I've heard, doesn't want to do, but he may have to do it to create some more salary cap space. It depends on what type of players he wants to get in free agency. Now, they don't have to load up like they have been doing the last few years to build up a competitive roster, but he may have to rework some deals like a DJ Moore if they don't trade him, or maybe Montez Sweat had his deal meant to be reworked. We don't know, or we haven't mentioned this guy's name yet, but Cole Kmet could be on the cutting block or the trade block. So that's a lot of options there to create some more room under the salary cap. So we'll see what happens between now and the start of the new league year in a couple weeks.
We'll keep you guys updated as always, but we're going to go to the hardwood first on the NBA side. The Bulls take-a-thon continues as they lose to Portland for loss number 11 in a row. Are the Lakers in trouble? Ooh. And a big win for Minnesota last night, and as well as Houston, a big comeback win for them as well against the Magic. We'll have all that and a whole lot more. LaKeena, McGee, City Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. A little NBA talk from this week coming up right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. On Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel, you can find us at Sports Zone Chicago. And on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey Maggette, and I listen to Sean and Maya on The Morning Show.
Welcome back to the Second City Sports and the hashtag Friday Fun Edition, the last show for the month of February. Happy Black History Month one more time. I'm Sid the Kid, which is me. LaKeena McGee over there is she. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and here's again, IG.
For this half hour, we're going to dive into the Chicago Bulls and the rest of the NBA, the best and worst from the week of the International Basketball Association. If you have any questions or comments regarding those subjects, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Number 11. That's the number for the Bulls, as they've now lost 11 straight. This is their worst. This is the most they've lost in a row since 2001, and unfortunately, I think not a big surprise as they lose to Portland, 121 to 112. 27 points for Jeremy Grant as he leads the all scores there. Despite 19 points off the bench for Trey Jones, 20 points for Montes, and 7 boards. Colin Sexton had 10. Josh Giddey had 15 points for the Trailblazers. I think like 8 players from double figures, including all their starters, like I said, led by Jeremy Grant, and such. It's exactly what with how as you expected for the Bulls. They were right there for a little bit, but then they lost in the end.
Yeah, I'm sure that's Michael Reinsdorf calling you, so you tell him to hang up and listen to what you have to say. For the Bulls, as we mentioned, the rest of the season is about finding out who's going to be part of your team next year. You mentioned some of the young guys that they have on the team, like Dillingham, who had 5 points in 23 minutes of action last night. Anthony Simons, another young guy they're trying to get a good look at. And Yabusele, who started last night for Chicago. He's starting to get some looks as well. You look at this Bulls team right now, I think their core they're trying to build around is Josh Giddey and Matas Buzelis. And Matas Buzelis, as we talked about throughout the season, his game has improved. I know he set a personal goal at the beginning of the year that he wants to win the NBA Most Improved Player award. I don't know if he's going to do that, but Matas has improved so far throughout the season. He's averaging close to 20 points a game. His shooting is close to above 40% overall, but in my personal opinion, he needs to do more. I know many Bulls fans want him to become this DeMar DeRozan type player, shoot mid-range jumpers, and I would like to see that at some point, but that's not his game. His game is taking it to the basket. You see the confidence in him that he can dunk on anybody in the NBA when he takes the ball to the basket. I'd like to see his overall all-around game improve, but you can't not complain too much about Matas Buzelis' his game so far this season. Remember, folks, he's only in his second year in the NBA, and his confidence is continuing to grow each and every game.
Yeah, Montes is. I've been more and more impressed with Montes every game this year. He had a couple of clunkers this year, no doubt. But after the All-Star break, he's been really solid, and I think he's definitely a building piece for if when since the Bulls are rebuilding after this season, he could definitely be a piece there for them. And I'm wondering though, if you're Billy Donovan, do you want to have to deal with another rebuild? are you going to have the patience for another rebuild? I mean, that's another thing where I think as far as all this is concerned, I think you just want them to if you're just looking to see, okay, who do you want to use as kind of like a building piece? I mean, Jaden Ivey, I guess he's going to be out for the rest of the year because that leg's still bothering him. Mm-hmm. And I know a couple other players that might be done for the year. So I just think if you're the Bulls right now, I think you're just trying to see what you got, what pieces can you use, and just use that kind of like a building block for the rest of the season and beyond. Now they do play. They get a few days off. They're not back in action until Sunday. They play Milwaukee. They're having their own problems. We'll get to that in a second. Excuse me, but yeah, I'm just at the point where I'm just like, okay, let's just get the season over with. I mean, it's good. And also, too, our buddy Big Dave, I don't know if he's happy about this, but Lee Williams is going to be out for a couple of games with calf injury. So I don't think Dave's too broken up about our buddy Big Dave Watson from CHGO. But yeah, I don't think he's too broken up about it. But again, if you guys have for some games, look, let's just get the rest of these 23 games that are left in the season. Just let's go. Let's see what we got here.
And let's not forget the Bulls hit the road for that West Coast road trip coming up in the next week or so as well. So they could lose all those games on the road as well. One piece of note about the Bulls before we move on. I will give them credit for this. On Tuesday night against Charlotte, the Hornets destroyed the Bulls 131-99, but they did do a great tribute video to former player Kobe White. Kobe White spoke to sometimes Bulls beat writer Joe Cali. He's also part of David Kaplan's recap channel. He's their Bulls insider, and he asked the question to Kobe White. I don't know if you caught this, LaKeena, that Joe Cali asked Kobe White, was there a realistic chance that he was going to stay with the Bulls this year? He said, yeah, and then of course, things started to unravel. They didn't win enough games, but Kobe White gave credit to Billy Donovan. Remember, we talked about Kobe White for years. What was his true position on the team? They tried him out at point guard, and things didn't quite work out. I'm not saying he didn't try, but things didn't quite work out there. Now he's this combo two guard, which he has exploded over the last few years, and he's doing a great job for Charlotte right now. And he had his moments in the sun the other night against Chicago. But Kobe White was a good player here for the 6.5 years that he was here. So he gave the Bulls credit for jumpstarting his career and living the dream, which was a very first-class move for him. But as we said, as we transition over to the rest of the league, as we said at the trade deadline just a few weeks ago, Kobe White, when he's healthy, is one of the best dangerous young scorers in the game. And with him going to the Charlotte Hornets, you see that team, they're in the mix for the play-in tournament. They've been playing well for the last almost 2 months now.
Yeah, he had 10 points in that game against the Bulls, and he's been. Look, the onus doesn't have to be on him. Like I said, that they've got guys on that Hornets squad that can do all this stuff. The onus doesn't have to be on him. They got LaMelo Ball, who had 16. Knuffle has had a great rookie year, 21 points, 23 points for Brandon Miller. He's one of the best young stars in the league. Miles Bridges was one of those second, third tier guys. So I think he's good for him. Also, he's back. He grew up outside, just outside Charlotte. Remember, he still, you said when he announced the trade, he still holds the record. In high school, in North Carolina for the most points scored. He still holds the record. It's been about a decade now. So yeah, he's still a little below that. I know he likes being back home. So yeah, good for Kobe, and hopefully, look, they're right there in the thick of it for one of the play-in spots. We're talking about Charlotte, so they're right there, and kind of like in the thick of it. They're at that 10 spot right now. So I'm sure. Look, they'll go down the line these next 22 games and see if they can hang on and perhaps maybe even get a higher seed in that play-in tournament.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Chicago City. LaKeena hanging out here with us as we talk Bulls in the NBA for this half hour. Let's transition over to the rest of the league. LaKeena, we'll go through some of the scores from last night's game. I want to start out with this game in the Western Conference. The Phoenix Suns, who are going through their own injury issues, they squeaked out a 3-point win over the Los Angeles Lakers, 113-110. LaKeena, in order for you to win games down the stretch and to become a championship contending team, to become a very good team, you must do the little things in crunch time in the closing seconds. The Los Angeles Lakers, we all know that 15-4 start was fugazi. Yes, LeBron James was out at the start of the year. Luka Doncic, he's been dealing with his own injury issues here and there. Austin Reeves is back, but DeAndre Ayton has taken a nosedive after the first 2 months of the year. But the Lakers 2 games this past week, the Tuesday loss at home against Orlando, and then what the hell happened again last night in Phoenix? I'm not going to ask you, are you starting to worry about the Lakers? But do you think they really have enough to even win one playoff series this year, the way they're playing right now?
I'm going to take a cue from our buddy Michael Duarte, of course, from a friend of the show, who does reporting and writing for the new California Sports, California Post Sports. I'll take a cue from him, and he'll say it best. He wrote something earlier this week, and he basically called them pretenders, the Lakers, and I can't say. Remember, he basically said as such when he was on with us about a month ago. Yeah. So I unfortunately now we're starting to see it because. 41 points for Luka in that loss last night, and only 15 for LeBron. He was 0 for 3 from 3. And Marcus Smart, nice from the show. He had 13 points, 14 points, I should say, for Mr. Reeves. 2 points for DeAndre Ayton in 23 minutes. Yuck. 0 points for Jared Vanderbilt. Only 6 points for Kennard. 0 for Max Kleiber. I mean, it's just like, yeah, things are kind of starting to go sideways for the Lakers. And it gets even easier. They have a game tomorrow night for the Saturday night game of the week for ABC against the Warriors. They're having their own, although they've actually been pretty good. Some of the Warriors have, so that's
even without Steph Curry, yeah.
Even without Steph, they've been pretty solid. So I don't know. I mean, these are kind of going sideways. And our buddy Sean Davis, I'm gonna try to see if I can get this tweet real quick. Apparently, LeBron's good friend Rich Paul and his agent started a podcast. They were 17-6 before that podcast. They now are 17-18 since. I don't know if that means anything, but it's kind of I don't say it's funny, but it is sort of funny how all that works out. But yeah, the Lakers are just yuck. They're yucky right now.
I'll say this. I think we talked about this on our last show on Monday. LaKeena, of course, Mark Walters, the owner of the Dodgers. Now he purchased the Lakers last year from the Jeannie Buss family, and they're starting to make some changes already within the front office. I know they're listening to some LA Sports Radio this week. Yeah, they were especially their flagship station. We'll leave it at that. They were talking about how should Rob Pelinka keep his job after this year because of the new ownership and the new people from that Mark Walters ownership group are coming in? Should Rob Pelinka keep his job? He did save his job last year by acquiring Luka Doncic in exchange for Anthony Davis, but the Lakers have some big decisions to make. Could Rob Pelinka get his pink slip with elite card? Because let's remember too, they signed Luka Doncic last year to believe that 3 or 4 year extension. LeBron James, I believe, is making $54 million this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to make significantly less money next year if he wants to stay with the Lakers or go somewhere else. Because with that new hard salary cap that the league that has started this year for the NBA, LeBron James, it's not too many places that he could go if he doesn't want to stay in Los Angeles. I think with that signing of Luka Doncic is basically saying that this is Luka's team now. If you want to be part of it, fine, but you're not the focal point anymore, LeBron James. So it's going to be interesting to see how the LeBron James situation handles out. Will it carry it out all summer, which I don't think this Lakers organization can afford to do, or will it end very quickly right before the July 4th free agency period?
That's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Now, staying in Los Angeles, going to go a little further out to the Clippers. They lost to Minnesota 94-88. That was the second game of that prime doubleheader. I actually watched a lot of that game yesterday. Let's just say it wasn't a lot to be desired in the first half, but it got going there in the second half. But look, it was kind of it was sort of back and forth for a little bit. Minnesota came back. Anthony Edwards, go-ahead three-pointer with about 45 seconds left, helped the T-Wolves hang on against the Clippers. A shout-out to Michael Grady and Brett Berry, who did a great job calling that game last night. Again, got entertaining in the last the second half, so the third and fourth quarters, but a big win for Minnesota that they really needed.
Yeah, quote-unquote hometown call for Michael Grady. I remember him as a net silent reporter many years ago. I'm proud of him to see where he's gone. Going up to in the NBA ranks in the television business. But we talked about the Minnesota Timberwolves being those teams, LaKeena, if they stay healthy. Remember around this time last year, Julius Randle was nicked up. He was starting to get healthy. Him and Anthony Edwards are starting to work together. Of course, we all know what happened with that team last year, getting smoked by the OKC Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. This year, they're still a very good team. They picked up Ayo Dosunmu from Chicago at the trade deadline, so they get a lot more depth coming out their bench. It looks like they're going to get former player Cal Anderson back from a couple years yesterday. Yeah, so that adds more depth. As I said before, now and I'll say it again for this year, I would not ignore the Minnesota Timberwolves. If they can stay healthy, they could give some teams some trouble in the playoffs. Remember, they beat the Denver Nuggets a couple years ago in that second round in an unforgettable 7-game series. It was a year after Denver won their championship in 2024. So, yes, they got dominated by OKC last year. That OKC team was very special, but the Minnesota Timberwolves they're here. The way they beat the Lakers last year, there was no fluke. And the way they beat the Warriors last year in the playoffs, even though after that Jimmy Butler injury, there was no fluke either. So Minnesota's very athletic. They have their width, their length, and their size, especially with their big guys like with some of the guys like James Daniels and I forgot the other big man. I'm drawing the blank on
Gobert.
Yeah, Gobert, Rudy Gobert too. But it was another Nasri, thank you.
Nasri, yeah,
Yeah,
Nasri.
you saw what he did, especially in that playoff series last year against the Lakers. That's their length and their size and their athleticism is going to cause teams a lot of problems in that Western Conference. So, as long as Minnesota stays healthy, they have a shot.
Yeah, and if you keeping up, speaking of Io, he had 12 big points off the bench. He actually
There you
started.
go.
Yeah, he actually started. He actually hit a 3-pointer. He's only 3 points up, but he started that rally in the fourth quarter for them. So yeah, he's been really good this so far for Minnesota since he got traded from the Bulls. So cool to him, and he's already doing his thing so far with them. Now, of course, the Pelicans beat Utah. Zeke Bay had a career high 42 as they beat Utah. Sacramento beat Dallas. Precious Achiuwa had 29 points as a career high for him. Houston, nice comeback there. They came back. This was the first game of that doubleheader on Prime. They came back and beat Orlando. 40 points for KD. He now passes Dirk Nowitzki for 6 all-time in points, and he also, if I can get it going here, he also is the first player to be history to score 40-plus points in the regular season for 5 different franchises: the Sonics, the Sox, Thunder, Warriors, Nets, Suns, and now the Rockets. So a nice win for them, for KD and the Rockets yesterday. Nice comeback win for them.
Yeah, congratulations to the Rockets. Call me crazy, LaKeena. I'll flip it over to the Orlando Magic quickly. I was high on them at the beginning of the year. I thought that Jamal Mosley would be a sneaky good candidate for Coach of the Year, but they still having injury issues. Early in the year, they couldn't play a lick of defense, although his bad habits showed up again last night. I like Pablo Banchero. He's still one of the best underrated scorers in the game, but if you had to depend on him, I know they traded away those draft picks to get Desmond Bane. He's starting to show some signs here a little bit, but outside those two, it's not really much you can praise about the Orlando Magic. I think, if not the worst, the number one candidate for most disappointing team in the NBA, they're right up there, right there at 2 or 3.
Yeah, they've had a lot of injuries. They just haven't been very productive, and they've fallen a little bit. They're still right there in the top 6 in the Eastern Conference, but I don't know if they could, depending on the matchup, I don't know if they could win a playoff series. I think they're 7. I should say they're the 7th seed right now. But yeah, I don't know if could they get out of the play-in? I have no idea. I mean, Vaquero can be, iffy at times. Bay can be as well. I know he had 30 points last night in that game, but Wendell Carter Jr., yes, he's still over there. All your Bulls fans, he's still there, folks. He could be, he could be, in and out too. And after that, and Carter as well, of course, former Bull. After that, there really isn't much. And I know that Franz Wagner, I know he's done for the year. I know his brother is okay, but he's not great. He's more of a guy off the bench. So I don't know if Orlando could make a playoffs. Well, I don't even know if they could even forget the playoffs. I don't even think they could get out of the play-in. That's just how it's hard to figure out. Well, with Orlando.
I think that's a fair assessment, and like you said, given all the injury issues they have so far this season, if they make it to the play-in, I think that's going to be an accomplishment for them. Even though it was higher expectations of them at the start of the year. Just running down through the rest of the scores last night, the Spurs, as expected, dominated the Brooklyn Nets on the road. The Atlanta Hawks get a big win over the Washington Wizards. Philadelphia, they get back on track. They beat the Miami Heat by 7. 124-117. And the Hornets, as we talked about earlier, when we talked about the Bulls, they get a big win at Indiana, 133-109. LaKeena, I'll go back to the Western Conference for just a second. Victor Wembanyama, I was on the MVP bandwagon so far to start the year for San Antonio. I want to talk about the MVP race for just a second. I'll get to the Spurs in a second, but the MVP race, yes, that rule is still on from last year. You got to play 65 games or more to qualify for any of these these regular season awards. It's safe to say that Luka Doncic, Jokic, Curry, and LeBron, all of them are out of the MVP race. I think SGA, aka Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, will be in that group as well. He's not going to qualify to be a candidate for MVP this year. Who's your favorite? I want to ask you, who is your number one candidate for MVP right now? Is it Wembanyama, or is it somebody that we're not talking about at the moment?
I think it's really Wemby's to lose. I think remember he going back to that game yesterday against Brooklyn. Of course, I know it's Brooklyn; they took care of business, but they're undefeated, right? They're undefeated, and they scored more than 110 points. That's the first time that's happened for either. Now he only had 12 points. I know Julian Champagne led the way with 26, but he's done the little things. He's done, he had some blocks, he made some steals, and I think this is sort of what the MVP really is. So he's kind of the epitome. He would be the youngest since Derrick Rose to win MVP should he win. So I think right now, I think it's his to lose. I feel like.
I could agree with you, but I think that he's going to have some competition. I read this in the Athletic the other day. One name that people should consider, and I'm surprised you didn't say this guy's name yet. Cade Cunningham of the Detroit Pistons.
Another one, yeah. He could be a good one too. That could be. I thought about him, but I thought, he's doing a lot of little things too, but he's had a lot of help on the outside. So I think that's why. Think about that. Okay, well, let's go to this game real quick with Detroit beating OKC 124-116. I mean, Cunningham had 29 points. He also, but Jalen Duran had 29 as well, leading the way there as they beat OKC. Of course, USGA it still isn't playing right now. And look, I think this is sort of like the little things when it comes to the NBA Most Valuable Player, how valuable you are to your team. Remember those 2 weeks that Wemby was out? They were okay, but they weren't great. I'm talking about the Spurs were without him. So when Cunningham was out for that little bit, they were actually still pretty good. I'm talking about the Pistons. So if you want to use that as your sort of your blueprint on what MVP is, the edge goes to Wemby.
I can see your point. Like I said, Cade Cunningham should be up there as well. One more name I'll bring up. I know we're starting to run against it, but I said this guy's name over a month ago. He should still be in the top 5 right now. Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics. Now, I expected them to be over 500 this year, but I didn't expect them to be like this. I know Jason Taylor, as we talked about on our show on Monday, he's back practicing with the team. He's starting to go through the 5-on-5 drills. He's going to make his return soon. We don't know when that date is, but Jason Tatum is prepping up for a return before the end of the regular season. Jaylen Brown has really stepped up to the forefront this year. Boston's up there trailing Detroit for that top spot in the Eastern Conference, but Jaylen Brown has had an outstanding year.
Yeah, he really has. I think he's definitely been holding down the fort with Tatum being out. I don't think anybody had Boston being in the top 3 in the Eastern Conference with no Tatum. So he's been a real big reason why. So I think that could be your top 3 right now in no order. Wemby, Cade, and Brown. I think those are your 3 guys. I think those are your top 3 right now. And you can go to any order you want. Like I said, we'll see what happens in these last 23 games of the season. But it really is. I think it really is a race between those 3. I feel like right now.
Yep. So we'll see how the MVP race shakes out with the big superstar names unable to qualify due to injuries. All right, LaKeena, let's get to the games that will be taking place tonight and throughout the weekend. The first game, the ESPN doubleheader tonight, Friday, will take place in Detroit as the Pistons will host the Cleveland Cavaliers. A note to those of you watching the games on ESPN, Inside the NBA will have their pregame show tonight at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. So make a note of that before the games tonight. Inside the NBA will come on at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time on ESPN right before the Friday night game. Friday night games take place on ESPN. The rest of the Friday night schedule tonight looks like this. Brooklyn will go to Boston. The New York Knicks will travel to Milwaukee to take on the Bucks. Memphis and Dallas will do battle. In the second game of the ESPN Friday night doubleheader will feature the Oklahoma City Thunder without SGA. They'll take on the Denver Nuggets.
That should still be interesting, though, nonetheless, there with that game. Tomorrow, Saturday, you got Portland as they continue their East Coast trip as they go to Charlotte, Houston, and Miami. That is your Prime Video game for Saturday at 2:30. Toronto and Washington. And I mentioned this earlier, ABC game of the week or Saturday. You got the Lakers and Golden State. That should be interesting. We'll see what happens in that game. Will Steph play? Who knows? I know Steph's going to want to play, but I don't think he'll be able to, but we'll see. And to cap off tomorrow night's slate, you got the Pelicans and Utah. The Pelicans have been playing pretty well lately.
Yeah. Note for the Lakers-Warriors game, Inside the NBA will just have a pregame show at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time for that ABC Saturday night game of the week. Schedule for Sunday is a busy one. It looks like this. The first game of the ABC Sunday afternoon doubleheader will feature Victor Wembanyama making his only appearance to Madison Square Garden as they'll take on the New York Knicks, The Cleveland Cavaliers will travel to Brooklyn to take on the Nets. The Milwaukee Bucks, without Giannis, will travel to Chicago to take on the Bulls. The second half of the ABC Sunday afternoon doubleheader will feature the Minnesota Timberwolves against the Denver Nuggets. Other games are as follows. For Sunday, Memphis will visit Indiana. The Atlanta Hawks will play the Portland Trail Blazers. The Orlando Magic will host the Detroit Pistons. And your Sunday night NBC Sunday night basketball game of the week will feature the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. And rounding out the Sunday night schedule will feature OKC at Dallas, New Orleans at the Clippers, and the Los Angeles Lakers hosting the struggling Sacramento Kings. And that's your schedule for Sunday and for this weekend in the National Basketball Association.
Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 coming up. As listeners, and you're watching Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Coming up, our girl Christine Mann from KXRB will join us for some sports media news, including some layoffs, for tough news from one of our good friends of the show. And also, seeing the NBA on NBC, doing a little nostalgia coming up in the next couple of weeks. We'll talk about that. But first off, we'll also going to be doing here a little baseball as spring training is in full swing, and also as some players are leaving to represent their respective countries in the World Baseball Classic, and also to Illinois. Well, they got a big game tonight against Michigan. They got to need this win to order clinch at least a share of the Big Ten title. That and a lot more coming up next. LaKeena, McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. More fun coming up in hour 2 right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
How do you take care of your mind health?
For my mental health, I meditate in the mornings.
I have my dogs. They're the best.
I just find ways that help me just relax.
Finding things that make me happy, like being close to my family.
I meditate a lot and read books.
I have hobbies outside of the game. I'm able to switch off. I'm able to turn my brain off from the game of basketball.
Your mind health matters.
Your mind health matters.
It's a romance sport. What? It's a romance sport like that.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, no matter where we serve, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Everybody in a work zone is someone somebody.
This is my mom. She works for KDOT.
This is my dad.
This is my mom.
This is my daddy.
This is my sister.
This is my daddy.
This is my son, Scott. He was killed while working in a highway work zone. When you drive through a work zone, drive like a life depends on it. Because it does.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports and the hashtag Friday Fun Edition. The last show for the month of February. Happy Black History Month. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. LaKeena McGee is she. Sidney Brown here. You know it's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and IG.
Kicking off hour number 2 of this fabulous program, we'll dive into some baseball and we'll get into the best games that you should be watching in the world of men's college basketball. If you want to discuss those topics for this half hour, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will give the open screen for you.
Well, the Sox unfortunately lost 2 in a row after going undefeated so far. And, and of course, the Cubs. The Cubs are 2-5. They lost a couple of row as well. Oh, okay, but yeah. I mean, I think we talked about this. We talked about this, on Monday. I think, at this point, would it be, better if some of these teams are, I know the Dodgers are undefeated in spring training play. Okay, whoop-de-doo. But I think we're at that point where you want to see guys that are doing well and they're doing better. And as you get to spring training, I know a lot of top players for some of these teams have already left to go to the World Baseball Classic. So, take that for what it's worth. I know Matthew Boyd, I'll take yesterday's spring training game for the Cubs. Matthew Boyd, had a solid showing. Only, he had 3 strikeouts, pitched 3 innings. Of course, the Angels beat the Cubs, 5-4, but that's okay. I think, with some of these cases where you gotta take, some of the battles, if you will, with some of these teams and such. So, I think, Boyd could be that other starter, of course, with the Steele now, with Justin Steele now still going to be out for about a month or month and a half or 2 months going into the regular season. Mm-hmm. You got to depend on him to kind of keep it, hold it down, if you will, for the Cubs on the pitching side. On the hitting side, I mean, I know PCA got into some trouble with some comments made about Dodgers fans, but look, I think you're at that point where you're just just concentrate your game right now, dude. I mean, I know you grew up in that area. I know both your parents are actors, but just concentrate on your batting right now and forget about what the Dodgers are doing and their fans. But yeah, I think if you're the Cubs, I think look, this is sort of like a thing where you want to try to see if you can get your pitching going, especially your middle relief. Find someone that can play second base. And just forget about the other outside noise.
Yeah, with veteran teams like the Cubs, with most of your important people playing in that forever wasted time of World Baseball Classic, it's time for some of the young guys that's expected to play as backups throughout the season. It's time for them to get some extra at-bats, get some extra playing time on the field, because that's going to become valuable as the season goes on, especially in the game of baseball where interests are coming more apparent. You're going to need some of those supporting guys to step up, and that's what the Cubs and some of these other veteran teams are going to have to go through right now and learn about who's going to fit into these specific roles. As we talked about the right field issue with this Cubs team many a times, and we talked about we know who's going to be a closer for the Cubs now. Like you said, that middle relief, it's time for guys to step up to see who's going to get you those outs in the 6th, 7th, 8th innings, and who's going to fill out the last half of the rotation. So it's important for this Cubs team to find out some of their backup guys, who's going to fit those roles, who's going to be that utility guy to start the year. And I don't know about you, LaKeena, about the veterans on this team. I think we started to talk about it a little bit. I'm glad I saved it for this show right now. I don't know if you caught AJ Brzezinski and his crew from Foul Territory. Great program right here on YouTube. Check out, just go to Foul Territory YouTube channel. They have some great stuff. But they were at Cubs camp the other day, and AJ, I thought, gave a great interview to newcomer Alex Bregman, who signed here for 5 years to play third base on the north side. And AJ asked him, just paraphrasing here, why did you pitch Chicago? And he said, because of their window to win now, and me being a veteran, even though we have so many other veterans on this team, I can impart my baseball wisdom and knowledge to some of these younger guys on the team. And he said that also, too, that it's important to, breathe the game of baseball, talk baseball terms for some of these guys. And also, too, just my first thought after watching that interview is the difference between practicing something and becoming good at it. And that's another difference of living it and breathing it. You could tell, maybe I'm taking it wrong. I don't think I am, but you could tell that Alex Bregman lives and breathes baseball, and he wants some of that passion to be transferred down to some of the other team, in particular the young guys. We talked about him and Pico Armstrong becoming besties almost immediately when they arrived at camp a couple weeks ago. A veteran like that can really go a long way. And Bregman also talked about the one key element to this with him being on successful teams that you talk, live, and breathe baseball. And he said he sensed that with this group with the Cubs right now.
Yeah, I think you could tell right away the sort of like the camaraderie that is showing between him and of course PCA and also to the rest of the young players. I think having a guy that has won World Series, I think that can help a lot. I think that work ethic, and so I think that's really will help having a veteran presence there that has multiple World Series to kind of be that guy that kind of helps out the younger guys and mentors them and shows that look, this is what's going to take to win. I have a couple of these, so this is how you can win at a high level. So for me, I think this is sort of like a good thing. This is why the Bregman assignment is huge. So I think having him there will help with some of those young guys. Like your dad, I know Dancy Sparks has a World Series ring already, but he's still young, so I think that could definitely help him a lot in that front as well. Guys like PCA, it's good to see that those two of them have become have a little bit of a bromance. I hope Caleb Williams doesn't get jealous, but that's a different conversation. Ian Happ, Nico Horner, Michael Bush. I mean, look, all those young guys and Shota as well. I think those are, even though he's more of a pitcher, but but again, I think having that presence there, that veteran presence, a championship pedigree, I think can only help a team like the Cubs that want to get to that next level.
Yeah, and so some of those intangibles are very important for a successful team. As we talked about in our last segment with the NBA regarding the Los Angeles Lakers, it's important to situational in crucial situations what to do and what not to do, and little tidbits here and there go a long way, along with the chemistry and getting to know guys on a personal level, not just on the baseball level, but a personal level as well. So, and that trust factor, it takes time, but it has to build up over time. So, we'll see what happens when this Cubs team opens up the season against the Washington Nationals coming up less than 1 month from today. So, baseball season is coming very quickly, LaKeena. I know that especially us here in the Midwest and in the Northeast means that warmer weather is not that far away. So with this Cubs team, expectations are very high. They're expected to win the division. They're expected to go deeper in the playoffs. They won the wild card round last year against San Diego before coming up short in an 0-2 comeback against Milwaukee in the division series. There's a lot of expectations for this Cubs team, and management finally picked the lane to go all in. We'll see if their faith is rewarded.
On the flip side, the White Sox, I know they lost a couple in a row. They lost to the Dodgers yesterday. But look, I mean, another home run for Colson Montgomery. I know Kiro has had a good spring so far. Vargas has been doing pretty good. Shane Smith had a nice outing earlier this week. And I know, look, Murakami, I know he struck out a couple of times before he left for the WBC. But it's definitely one of those days where I think if you're the White Sox, I think if you could just try to win 70 to 75, I think that's really going to be the ceiling for them this year, since they made so many improvements with their roster. They actually kind of laid the groundwork last year. So it's going to be interesting to see what the White Sox do. I know Will Venables, you can tell he's kind of a more, a more, better mood and very, he seems very excited at what's to come for this team. And look, I think White Sox fans should be excited what might be coming this year.
Yeah, it's the same thing that I said about the Cubs just a moment ago. I'll say the same thing about the White Sox. I know that Kyle Teal is leaving for Team Italy. Curtis Mead, their backup third baseman, he's leaving for, I believe, Team Australia. You talked about Murakami earlier. But for the White Sox, for them, what most important is focusing on is the fundamentals, and particularly playing defense. Of course, it slightly improved last year, but it could use some more work, and that's one of the elements I'm looking forward to in this spring training. And number two, you mentioned about the starting pitcher, Shane Smith. You mentioned he had another good outing. I think they want him to be the opening day starter when they open up the season March 26th against the Milwaukee Brewers. Of course, he came out of nowhere last year with becoming an all-star as a rookie. He was not a fifth round draft pick, but he was I'm drawing a blank for a moment, but they basically picked him up from the scrap heap in the Sox turned him into a star. So it's nice to see him start his spring training start off on a good note. I think it's still a battle between one of those 4th and 5 spots in the starting rotation. Will it be Jonathan Cannon? Will it be Sean Burke, who got the starting nod last year? Actually did well, but he struggled toward the end of the year. That's why he was demoted to the minor leagues. Jonathan Cannon as well. I don't think both those guys will make the big league club to start the year. I wouldn't be shocked that both those guys wouldn't be up here on North when the season starts. So you got competition going on there. But with Murakami, before he left for the WBC yesterday, in his 13 at-bat appearances, 5 hits, 5 strikeouts, and a couple walks. I know he was known for taking a lot of walks into Japan, but as we said before, we'll say it again, it's going to take him some time to adjust to major league pitching. And we'll see how he does in the WBC. Everybody's going to be watching, but when he gets back here in a couple of weeks, he's got to adjust again to major league pitching, and that's going to take him some time. As we also said before, with the weather being what it is in April and early May, especially in the Northeast and the Midwest, you're not going to be hitting as many home runs. So could we see those strikeout totals climb up very quickly for Murakami as he figures it out? Yes, but I think eventually he's going to pan out for him, barring any major injuries. But I think eventually he's going to find a way to figure it out.
Could be just to see what happens with the White Sox there as we get into spring training. Now, staying in the AL Central, I know AJ Hinch and Therese Skubal, of course, from the Tigers. With the addition of Framber Valdez, I think they may have the best rotation in baseball. Of course, not just those two. Of course, you got Justin Verlander. He's back there, of course, where he started his career. Jack Flaherty and Casey Mize. So you wonder that do they have a point? I mean, I think they do, especially, you never know what's going to happen with Therese Skubal. And if you're the Tigers, you want to get that quick start. Maybe not as quick as you did last year because you almost blew that lead, but you want to have a good start coming in, because if not, I mean, Skubal could be on the move.
Yeah, as we said before, if Tigers get out to that start any close to what they did last year, Skubal stays through, for the whole year. If they struggle to keep their record above 500, a chance for that August 2nd trade deadline, you'll be counting down those days to see if Skubal gets out of there. So if you're in a tough spot, if you're the Detroit's front office, if you want to get something for him, but if the team is doing well, that's going to have a bad sign. So Detroit's in a tough spot here. Like we said on our last show, they'll be the favorite of most to win that AL Central, but Kansas City could make a move. Cleveland, no one expected them to do what they did last year. They came back and snatched the division from the Tigers, so you can never count them out. Even though those last two teams I just mentioned, they didn't make any significant moves this offseason either. So Detroit, that division is there for them to lose, is theirs to lose. But if they go to a shaky start, it could be a potentially long year.
All right. I know that this week Aaron Judge hit a home run before he left for the World Baseball Classic for the Yankees. So that's going to be we'll see what the Yankees do. I know that there's a lot of people that say that could be between them and Toronto for the AL East. So we'll see what happens. Excuse me, with that. So and also to Max Scherzer, he's returning to the Jays for his 19th season. So so again, I think this is a good pickup for the Jays, someone that can pick up innings as I try to not choke myself to death.
Hopefully some of those teams you just mentioned don't choke themselves to death either. If you talk about the AL East, let's not forget about Baltimore. They picked up Pete Alonso as well to help balance out their lineup instead of trying to make their return back to the playoffs. After missing it last year, after Brian firing Brandon Hyde 2 months into last season. So, Baltimore could be up there. Boston, let's not forget about Boston. Even though they lost to the Yankees in the wild card round last year, they basically made the playoffs without Alex Bregman, even though he did play barely over 100 games. So they have all that young talent. So in Tampa Bay, I don't expect them to make any noise in terms of going to the playoffs, but they're always tough. So the AL East could be a juggernaut from start to finish.
And right about this time next month, we're going to be having our predictions. So don't take it for what it's worth. We're all three of us and Christine. We actually were pretty good with our predictions last year for the most part. So we'll see if we can keep the momentum going there. This is Second City Sports on Sports Social Chicago. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown with you. We're going to switch gears here. Go back to the hardwood, this time with the men's college hoops variety. Just a few scores for this week before we talked about tonight's game between Illinois and Michigan. So either Michigan, they do clinch a share of the Big Ten title. They held off Minnesota, I should say, 77-67. Arizona beat Baylor. Duke, no trouble with Notre Dame. Iowa State with a nice bounce back win against Utah. Virginia beats North Carolina State. Texas Tech beat Cincy. UCF, Johnny Dawkins and his guys, who hopefully they'll finally be ranked now. They just pummeled BYU. Of course, no Richie Saunders for them. Mizzou, freshen up their resume. They beat Tennessee. St. Louis kind of in free fall as they lose to Dayton again. TCU beat Arizona State. Oklahoma trying to freshen up their resume. They beat OU, and no letdown for that loss, for that win against Illinois for UCLA. They beat USC 81-62. Donovan, who of course had that game winner for UCLA last Saturday, had 30 points there, season high for him, I should say. Excuse me. And let's see, just any other scores for the week before we go into this week's games. On Wednesday, UConn got the revenge against St. John's, just pummeling them. Terrace Reed Jr. had 20 points for UConn in that win at St. John's. They actually now are tied for the Big East lead right now. Florida beat Texas. They're starting to kind of get it going there. Florida, I think they're kind of, I don't think anybody's paid attention to, which I'm sure they're okay with that, because Zach got the revenge against Portland. Beating them, handling Nebraska, beat Maryland, Alabama beat Mississippi State, Arkansas against Texas A&M. They beat them. Vandy beats Georgia, and DePaul with a nice win against Creighton. Look, okay, I'll say this really quick. Look, Chris Holman's done a great job for DePaul, but let's also remember too that Creighton, Xavier, Marquette, Georgetown, Providence, those squads are all having a down year. Both things can be true. So yes, you give Chris Holman credit. They're putting the money into the program, but let's slow down on that they're back yet, folks. Please. Okay, moving on. Yesterday's games, you got Purdue.
That's a DePaul TED Talk.
Yes, thank you. Michigan State with a nice win at Mackey Arena. I think this is their first win at Mackey Arena in 5 years. They beat Purdue 76-74, I should say. Carson Cooper had 15 points there for Michigan State.
Call me crazy, LaKeena. A couple of things before we get into tonight's preview of the Michigan-Illinois contest, which I think it will decide a lot in the Big Ten. Excuse me. I still believe Michigan's the best team in the Big Ten, but I think especially after what happened last night, Michigan State is number 2. And number 3, as I think I alluded to this on our last show, if not last week at this time, LaKeena, last Friday at this time, I'm not too fond of Purdue right now. I know they start out hot in the season. Yes, all teams will go through tough stretches, but this Purdue, I don't want to be hot takey. I'm not that hot takey kind of guy, but I'm not getting good vibes from Purdue right now. I guess NCAA tournament. I can also see them get to a Sweet 16 as well. But the way they play right now, I don't have any confidence in Purdue. They still a very good team. I like Braden Smith, their point guard, but I'm not too fond of Purdue right now. Your best 2 teams on the Big Ten are Michigan and Michigan State. And I think number 3 is up in the air. I think by default, you can say Illinois. Like I said, tonight's game will determine a whole lot. But Purdue, I'm not getting good vibes from them right now. They're not having a great finish to the regular season as I thought. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, no, you're right. They struggled as of late the last few weeks, and like I said, this is a real loss for them at home. They this is their 3 losses. I think they lost 3 total within the last 3 years or so. And of course, you got Trey Kaufman, Andy aforementioned, Braden Smith, the holdovers for the squad with the Final Four with Zach Edey a couple years ago. You would think that the veterans there could probably help out those young guys or the transfer guys, but unfortunately, that hasn't been the case with Matt Painter. No, I'm not saying that Matt Painter should be on the hot seat over there, but I think in the last few weeks, it's I would be surprised if look, Purdue fans are pretty patient for the most part, but the fact that they've been playing the last few weeks, yeah, you kind of wonder, you kind of scratch your head a little bit. Look, I think this team could go to the second round of the tournament, but I could also see them losing the first round depending on who they play. So that's just how they are at this point in the season, and that's where you don't want to be, especially as you're going to about a week left in the regular season for the Big Ten, and of course you're going to the conference tournament, the cup tournaments in a couple weeks down in Indy. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Now, Miami.
One more thing, real quickly, Ken. One more team before we get to Michigan, Illinois preview for tonight. You mentioned about UCLA just a second ago. Mick Cronin threw out one of his guys in their last game before they beat Illinois last Saturday. Ever since he did that, they're 2-0. I'm talking about UCLA. With that win against Illinois, like you said, they took care of USC the other night. I have them as an at-large bid as of right now in the NCAA tournament. Those last two wins, especially the way they won them, they're in the NCAA tournament. Teams like Ohio State, Indiana, as of now, they're out.
Yeah, I think I think it's really good. I think this next week is going to be telling for the Big Ten to see who gets in and who gets out, because we'll talk about that in a second here. But let's get into this weekend's games. Of course, Miami, Western Michigan, Miami of Ohio trying to stay undefeated. You can check that game out on F5 on CBS Sports Network. Dayton and George Washington, 6:00 on ESPN2. And of course, the aforementioned, the Big Fox Network. You got Michigan and Illinois. It's going to be interesting to see. I know Michigan, look, if they win this game, they could get the Big Ten title outright. So, look, they took care of business against Ohio State. I know Illinois has had about a week to kind of stew on that loss to that comeback loss to UCLA. I think the key for me is, I know, look, Lindenberg for Michigan, he's the kind of guy you got to slow him down. But they've got guys on the back end that could definitely help him if he doesn't have a good game. So guys like Kean Wagler, Mirkovic, and Stojakovic, I think those are the guys that are going to have to get it going there, because you gotta set the tone early and make sure the crowd stays in it. And if you're Michigan, I think you want to get that crowd in Champaign at the State Farm Center out of the game, because if not, they're going to be loud, and they're going to be loud all game. So I think if you're Michigan, you want to get the crowd out early, and if you're Illinois, it's just the opposite.
Yeah, for Michigan, you mentioned about Landon Scott. I got a chance to watch him up close, really for the first time from start to finish in that game against Duke almost 2 weeks ago now. And he is very good. He could operate inside. He has a little bit of a consistent jumper from the outside as well. So Illinois, even though they can rebound the ball, especially on the offensive end, averaging close to 13 offensive rebounds a game, it's going to be interesting how they defend Landon Scott. Landis Borg, I should say. Will they double team him? When they're going to double team him? Because Michigan, they have some athletes over there, and they have a couple of shooters. Let's not forget about their point guard, Ethan Cadeau. He can dish out the ball as well. He leads the team in assists with over 5.5 per contest. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Illini can do, double team Landis Borg, because he is very good. Now, on the flip side, you mentioned for the Illini, Colin Boswell, even though he still has that cast off his left hand, I like the way he pushes the ball. He sets the table up for the other guys. But the way that Illinois played in that first half against UCLA, you need to bring that for 40 minutes, especially against Michigan. I'm sure Brad Underwood has been preaching that all week, trying to get that bad second half performance out of their system. They're at home. You have to play from start to finish, especially against a good team like Michigan. What else what other scenario you need to get out of that bad slump from a bad loss to play against the teams you'll probably see again in the Big Ten tournament in less than a couple of weeks down in Indy. This is a big test for you. You want to be one of those top dogs in the Big Ten and the NCAA. You beat a team like this tonight. I think my key for me for Illinois, defensive rebounding, defensive how you defend Landis Borg in the paint, and number 3, make your free throws. Make your free throws. Those are my 3 keys for the Illini tonight.
Yeah, that was the lack of free throws is what killed them in that game against UCLA. Of course, they were able to. The UCLA was able to come back and win it all in overtime. Now, the rest of your schedule for this weekend. Tomorrow, Duke can rack up the ACC title as they face Virginia. And Virginia. Look, I like the way they play. Ryan Odom's got his guys. It's no longer a chore to watch Virginia hoops. T.S. de Ritter, if you have not seen him play, he's from Belgium. and he's really good. He can shoot the three, he can rebound, and it should be interesting to see what happens in that game. But I don't think Duke shouldn't have any trouble with Virginia. We'll see, but it should be a good one. That's going to be 11 a.m. on ESPN. Houston hosts Colorado. We'll see what mood Houston's in after after losing to Kansas earlier this week. So I don't know if they're going to be in a good mood, but we'll see.
Boy.
FS1, you got UConn, I should say, in Seton Hall. That's going to be on FS1. Let's see here as we go into the games. Louisville and Clemson, that's going to be on ESPN. Vandy and Kentucky, that's going to be ESPN. That's at 1 o'clock as we go into the early afternoon games here. Oregon, they face Northwestern on BTN. Let's see here, rest of the games. All right. Oh, going here in the Big 12 at 3 o'clock over there in Tucson. You got Kansas and Arizona at 3 o'clock. That should be a good one. Could be for the Big 12 title.
Yeah. Like I said, Darren Peterson is going to have to step up big. And my guy, Jalen Bradley from Arizona, he's got to step up and have a big game too. But I think this, in my opinion, is going to be a bigger game for Kansas because of Darren Peterson's lack of commitment of conditioning and Bill Self challenging him. So we'll see. I know they've done well without his Peterson's services at times this year, but in my opinion, this is going to be a bigger game for Kansas, to be honest with you. Arizona is the top class next to Houston, who they beat last week on the road in the Big 12. This is a bigger game for Kansas, in my opinion.
Yeah, they got Arizona favored by 8.5. So we'll see what happens there. The Vegas might know something.
There you go.
Now I got Iowa State. They host Texas Tech, of course. No JT Tobin at 3 o'clock on CBS. Nebraska and USC. Boy, they injuries have just killed USC, losing a couple of their top guys. 3 o'clock on BTN. Texas A&M on ESPN2. You got to think that this is definitely a bubble game, if you will. One of these teams will they may knock each other out. We'll see. BYU, they're kind of a free fall too, sort of. They face West Virginia on the Big Fox Network at 4:30 as we're going to the late afternoon, early evening games. Alabama and Tennessee, they had a good one first meeting, so we'll see what happens in the second meeting. That's going to be at 5 o'clock on ESPN. TCU and K-State on ESPN2. Villanova and St. John's on the Big Fox Network. St. Louis, they've done pretty well. We'll see if they can get back on track against Duquesne. I know they've had a tough last couple of games. SEC, Arkansas at number 7, Florida, 7:30 on ESPN. Now they could, I'm saying Florida could have a shot at the number 1 seed. They'll get back at that 1 seed if they finish out well. They've been kind of, like I said, they've been quietly getting back near the top. So we'll see.
Yeah, Arkansas also has a freshman of the year player on their side, and they've been doing very well. So you'll see him in action. But I want real quickly, I know we got Christine coming up next, but number 15 St. John's will host Villanova tomorrow night on Fox. Both teams at 22-6. LaKeena, I know that St. John's beat UConn in that first meeting a month earlier this month, but it did not look good for St. John's the other night. I would not have been a fly on that wall in practice the last couple of days. I expect Rick Pitino's team to respond big.
I think if you're Villanova, you want to try to see if you'll freshen up your tourney resume. So if you get St. John's team while they're down, especially on the road, that could help you. But I think Rick Pitino's guys will be ready. Just saying, I'm just saying, go down in there. Virginia Tech at North Carolina at 7:30 on ESPN2. You got Gonzaga and St. Mary's on ESPN. The cap off there. Grand Canyon, Utah State. Both teams are kind of right there on the bubble for the NCAA tournament. That should be going there on the CBS Sports Network. Now Sunday. Any games of no? Well, your Memphis Tigers, Penny Hardaway, they've been playing pretty well lately. They face East Carolina. DePaul and Marquette on FS1, Belmont, Illinois State on CBS Sports Network as the Missouri Valley Conference are finishing up their regular season, and Bradley hosts Murray State to improve their seeding on ESPN2. And Purdue, speaking of Purdue, we'll see if they get back on track as Ohio State. That's at 12:30 on CBS.
Yeah, speaking of CBS, with their Big Ten doubleheader on Sunday at 12:30, as you mentioned, Purdue at Ohio State, followed by Michigan State and Indiana. Ohio State, Indiana, both those teams must win to you have a shot at participating in March Madness. As I said, both those schools are talking about Ohio State, Indiana. I think they're shot as far as being in large debate or over both of the teams like to win the Big Ten tournament. It's not impossible, but I don't think it's unlikely. So big game for both those schools, but I think Purdue and Michigan State will take care of business in both those contests on Sunday.
Should be a good one there. And that's your schedule for this weekend in men's college hoops.
All right, it's time for our 2-2 break. When we come back, we'll have our girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika, join the program with her weekly shenanigans, including a nostalgia broadcast for the NBA on NBC. We'll get to the NFL Combine and whatever else is on our minds. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
So the In Real Live and Living Color right here on Sports Soul Chicago. Sid the Kid is me. LaKeena McGee is she. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and here's again, IG.
This is our last break of the show for today and for the week. So if you have any last minute questions or comments of any of the topics we discussed on this show thus far today, you better hit us up right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
All right. Sid, let's not waste any more time. She is our girl, your girl, our weekend girl from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She's the one, the only, the fabulous Miss Christine, the Queen Manika. Hey, Christine.
Hello, guys. Happy Friday.
Yeah.
How are you?
Happy Friday to you too.
We're doing good. A little tired, but we're doing good.
All right. So yeah, we've been texting our little our group chat here, and of course with the birth, the cap situation and such. So what are your thoughts on all this, Christine?
If it ends up getting Max Crosby, why not? I mean, people already saw him going through the O'Hare Airport earlier this week, and Caleb is the one that picked him up. So I think it was bound to happen too. They just got to make some space too in the organization when it comes to that cap room, and of course they want to try to keep as many guys as they possibly can. But right off the top of the bat for me, if you're gonna let anybody go, I would think maybe DJ Moore would be at the top of the list just because, yes, he made those big, amazing plays. I just wish, and I mentioned this before too, he would have put more of an effort like that throughout the whole season, if that makes sense.
Yeah, as we mentioned before, the only way DJ Moore gets out of Chicago is via trade, because if you cut him, there's going to be a massive cap hit, which the Bears cannot afford to take a big hit like that with the terms of the contract of his right now. So unless DJ Moore is traded, he's going to be on this team next year, playing out the last half of that 4-year, $110 million deal, which he signed before the 2024 season. Christine, I'll ask you this next question regarding Ben Johnson. We didn't talk about this, LaKeena, to start the show, but Ben Johnson was making his rounds both locally and nationally this week regarding the Bears. Of course, nationally, the Bears are still a big story, bigger than Seattle Seahawks winning the Super Bowl. Go figure there. But Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk at NBC Sports Sunday Night Football, asked him about the Green Bay rivalry. Of course, the Bears beat the Packers twice last year, one for the division back in December, of course. Most importantly, the greatest comeback in franchise history in that wild card round against the Packers as well. He asked Ben Johnson about, is the rivalry real? Has he bought into it, and does he hate Matt LaFleur? He said, no, I'm buying into the rivalry. I know that Green Bay is our biggest rival. I'm all in. You saw what the Bears did to him last year. What were your thoughts on that interview when he made those comments?
I mean, it was pretty obvious, I think, during the season too. He doesn't not like Matt LaFleur. It's just the rivalry, and he's all in on that kind of stuff. And I think the team bought into that too this season, and even into the off season. I think everyone was just blowing it out of proportion as to the intent behind that. I especially say that to Packers fans that have probably blown that whole video out of proportion during the season too. And I'm glad that he's standing by it, because it's not like he can take it back and say, oh, no, I didn't mean to say that, or they added that in there in editing. No. So I think it's good that he's, staying true to what he says and standing by everything in that regard. And I'm for it. It just refuels the fire for the city of Chicago too.
Now, I guess it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But we'll talk about the rest of the NFL for a second. Do you see guys like Trent Williams, Anthony Richardson, that we were seeing other guys? Do you see any of those guys leaving their respective teams before the start of the year?
To be honest, I don't think anybody would want Anthony Richardson, because he said that he's tired. When he's tired, he doesn't want to play, so he gets himself out of the game. So I don't see a team that would be really interested in him in that regard. The only possible option that I would see, because he is a good quarterback when he wants to be, it would be going to Kansas City, because they're still going to be without Patrick Mahomes for a majority of the regular season. So they got to find someone to fill his shoes. And I think that's the start of it, if they at least want to have a fight to get in the postseason.
Going back to the Bears, Christine, I'm kind of getting LaKeena McGee vibes here. We got to talk about it to an extent, because this is what we do on our show. But the Bears stadium situation takes another expected turn. The Indiana lawmakers passed a bill to explore the opportunities to perhaps put a potential new stadium, using air quotes here, in Hamby, Indiana, in the middle of nowhere. I know the state of Illinois is still goofing around. And Michael McCaskey, may so rest in peace, but George McCaskey says that he still wants the Bears to stay in Illinois. The city of Chicago, for some reason, is back in the mix. Why? I don't know. But what's your thoughts about this, Christine? Because I've said this. I got my LaKeena McGee chromosome in me. When the show is officially on the ground for them to build their new stadium here in the state of Illinois, that's where it becomes a race. But right now, I'm sick of talking about this. But I want to let you get your thoughts because there was still some movement in the last couple of days about regarding this stadium situation again.
Yeah, people, when they come up and talk to me about it, even said today, I'm like, it's just exhausting to talk about it, because is it true that it has never been this close of the Bears moving out of Illinois and out of Chicago? Yeah, it's pretty close. Like, I'd say this is the closest that they've ever been to executing something like that. I would say the city of Chicago would be back in the mix because you're going to stick to what I'm saying this entire time. Just stay at Soldier Field. Make the upgrades in the field if you don't like them. Doesn't mean you have to put a dome over it, but if you want specific upgrades to it, then do it. I'm on the wagon of there is such a historic franchise that they shouldn't even think about moving out of Soldier Field, let alone the state of Illinois. So my only hope is that maybe they've changed their mind about the whole thing altogether, and this has just been a facade the last couple of weeks, last month with it. So it's hard to say right now. There's a lot of different heads talking back and forth, and only a few people know the answer of where this is all going to end up.
Yeah, I think, like I said, shovels on the ground and nothing's official yet. They haven't even found a land in Hammond yet. So I think that just shows you how backwards this still is. So yeah, for people that are going, well, we're gonna lose the Bears. No, look, nothing's official yet. I know the Governor Mike Baum has signed this stuff into law, but look, unless you actually show me some renderings or actually show me some stuff that you found the land, no, it's not happening. So like I think they're going to go to Arlington Heights. No, look, the Soldier Field's already preparing for life after the Bears. Look, they still got another 6 or 7 years in the lease, so we're going far ahead with all this. So it's just silly how all this is shaping up, but it's going to be just see what happens there. Now, as far as the salary cap situation is, of course, we found out that $301.2 million will be the salary cap for the entire NFL teams. Now, this is an unofficial list, so check this out. What team had the most salary cap? It's the Tennessee Titans. They got almost $95 million in cap space. The Raiders have almost 90. Jets at about like 89. The Chargers got about 85.6. The Commanders got 71. 59 for the reigning champs Seahawks. 50 million for the Bengals and 42 million for the Steelers. So, what do you guys think about those numbers?
It's a lot of money.
Uh-oh. He went away. Christine went away for us for a second. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I think we lost Christine. We lost your camera. Uh-oh. Come back.
Yeah, I wish the Bears had those problems as far as having that much.
There we go.
Okay. Go ahead, Christine.
Finish your thought, Christine. Yeah. You went away for a second. What was finish your thought?
But I can't hear you guys. I'll say with the salary thing really quick before I try to get myself back in here. Really quick about that. I think Tennessee needs all the help that they can get. So it's good that they're at the top of the list, and Robert Sahala can probably help them get closer to what they have been within the last couple of years. And with regards to how much cap space every one of those teams you listed, LaKeena had, it's a crazy amount of money, and these players are always looking for more. It's never going to be enough, and guys are going to have to make some sacrifices. But it does say a lot about those organizations with that much cap space too.
Yeah, I'm with you with Tennessee, LaKeena. That, like I said, Tennessee could make a surprise turnaround. We'll see. They still need a lot. They still need to draft well. The New York Jets, Aaron Glenn is going to his second year. They need massive improvement. The number one question for me, as far as the Jets is concerned, is who's going to be that quarterback? Will they sign Malik Willis, or will they have to draft somebody? Because the draft class for quarterbacks this year is not that deep. So the Jets are in a conundrum there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, a lot of money here, but yeah, again, this won't be with the official numbers, but it'll be interesting to see what happens as the teams as we get into the new year. Like I said, Tennessee could improve quick with all that capped money. So we'll see what happens there. Just a second, see sports on Sports Chicago. LaKeena, McGee, City Brown. I know. Okay, let me see if I get Christine. I know her. Her signal went out for a second. So let me see if we can join her. Can you hear us now, Christine?
Yes, yes. I had phone calls coming in. So
Okay. All right. So go ahead.
So as we transition over to the Olympics now, Christine, I know the Winter Olympics are over, and this is the first time we can ask you about the Winter Olympic Games. Of course, we'll start out with the hockey. Both the men's and the women's USA hockey teams defeated Canada in their gold medal games. Perhaps both gold medal games were the best in a long time. Let's get your comments. Starting out with the men's game first. Well, Canada tied in the second period, but in overtime, the USA men's team finished off in style.
Yeah, it was a great game. I'm gonna pull a reverse on you, Sid, and say ladies first here because
Okay.
they were the first ones to beat Canada when it comes to the Olympics. They were the first ones to bring home that hockey gold for Team USA and defeat, the rivalry of Canada. That game was terrific. It was the fastest game of hockey I've ever seen. One of the faster games I've ever seen when it comes to the way that the women played. Because if you remember at the start of the Olympics during that pool play, Team USA defeated Canada 5-0 pretty handily. And then all of a sudden to have it be so close during the gold medal game and where shots on goal, they were pretty close to each other, 25 each at sometimes, 30 and 31 at some points too. It was something that I've never seen before for U.S. women's hockey, and it being such a close game and being such a well competitive fight on both teams, and the way that Hillary Knight's stick just happened to be out there perfectly to get in that extra goal to get it in on overtime was like Hollywood magic. Like you could only imagine that happening on the big screen to then go into overtime too. Unbelievably clutch for the girls there. Now with the men, it was a dominating performance. Again, I've never seen a hockey game move so fast as they did, especially with Team Canada. It was hard to keep up at some points. I'm sure, Eddie Olczyk and the guys in the booth had a very difficult time analyzing the plays going on and then to express that over the airwaves for television. It was exhausting just to watch it, but it was so exciting at the same time. I saw many cities across the country open up their bars early just so people can go in and watch the game and celebrate. And what a celebration that was for both of them. And to cap it off with the men beating Canada too, doesn't get any better than that.
Now ratings wise, I know it was big for NBC. I think the women's game got about 18 million through both the NBC and platforms as well as Peacock. The men's got just under 21 million, about 21.7, with Pete did about 26 million for they saw that Jack Hughes a game winning goal, 18.6 million for the game. And I think overall the ratings were actually pretty solid for NBC. This bodes well for the Summer Olympics coming up in a couple of years out in Los Angeles. What do you think, Christine?
Well, this is overall with the Olympics, it's the biggest viewership since Skokie in 2014. So that says a lot in itself. The Olympics were just fun. They were exciting. You're in Milan. It was so exotic. It was so just magical and transcending to see all these young athletes coming up and getting introduced to the world for the first time with people that may not have watched figure skating before or skiing or snowboarding, that high jump, bobsledding, anything like that. It just brings communities together. It brings countries together. And it was a great form of unity over the last couple of weeks. I felt the same way when the Summer Olympics in 2024 happened, how there was just so much unity and joy and excitement back in sports. And that was probably the first time anyone felt like that since the pandemic, probably getting that sense of community and that sense of just excitement again.
Going back to hockey, Christine, of course, Johnny Gaudreau, aka Johnny Hockey, died a little bit over a year ago. Him and his brother, unfortunately, both of them passed away in a car accident. Of course, he would have been on Team USA. Of course, his teammates brought out his jersey when they won over Canada last Sunday. Of course, they took the photo center ice photo with his two young children. What were your thoughts on that? It was a watershed moment for everybody that watched it.
Oh yeah, it was a great moment. Very appropriate to have his kids come up on the ice and have them grab them to come join them, and to have his jersey hang that would have been his jersey on Team USA. It was emotional for a lot of hockey fans, and it was great to see them honoring him pretty much throughout the entire Olympic journey. And I can tell you what, Johnny had the best seat in the house out of anybody. So he saw it.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely had a seat for that game-winning golden goal from Jack Hughes. So just a beautiful moment there. Now, speaking of NBC, you were talking about NBC, guys. Now, NBC is going to be doing a little throwback, a little more nostalgic with their NBA coverage on March 3rd in their game of the Spurs against the 76ers. Bob Costas, Doug Collins, Mike Fratello, Jim Gray, Hannah Storm, Isaiah Thomas, and PJ Carlissimo will return to the NBC Sports for that game. It will also be streaming on Peacock. So talk about this nostalgia now. Now, one guy that wasn't very happy, of course, is Peter Vesey. He's a little bit ticked that he wasn't asked to come back and do that. But we'll start.
I'd be mad too if I was him.
Yeah. I think he does kind of have a right to be miffed here. But yeah, this is a really look. We know NBC's been doing a lot of nostalgia all season long. This is another notch in the belt for that. And it should be a good game between the Spurs and the 76ers.
I think so too. And having a name like Isaiah Thomas in that group too, that's going to bring up a lot of nostalgia too, especially for Bulls fans. And hopefully maybe that will ignite a different rivalry in the game too.
Yeah, speaking of that, LaKeena, I don't know why they asked Pat Riley or Quinn Buckner. I know Quinn Buckner's busy with calling Indiana Pacers games for television, but I don't know why they didn't ask Bob Costas back. For those of you that don't know, it was Pat Riley and Bob Costas did the first year of the NBA on NBC with a Showtime pregame show before Pat Riley took that job the following year with the New York Knicks. I don't know why they didn't ask Pat Riley back. Maybe he didn't want to do it. I don't know. Whether they asked him, I don't know if they did or not. So I'm surprised they didn't bring Pat Riley back. Another guy they didn't bring back, LaKeena, and I don't know if there's been any outrage on social media. Why didn't they bring back Ahmad Rashad? He still looks good at the age of 70.
That's a good question. Yeah, I'm a little surprised that he's probably the one guy where a lot of people haven't seen him. I know he said that he wants to come back and do. I know he's been very vocal about it. I'm talking about Mr. Rashad. So I don't know on his Instagram, excuse me. So I don't know what happened there, but maybe look, there's still some games left. They're going to be doing some playoff games, so maybe that's what they're waiting for. We'll see, but who knows?
That'll be a good idea to do this again if it's successful on Tuesday to do one of the playoff games, but we'll see. For those of you that don't know or is just as young as Christine, Bob Costas called Michael Jordan's last game as a Chicago Bull in Game 6 of the 1998 NBA Finals against the Utah Jazz, where Jordan hit that shot off of Byron Bryant Russell in Utah in June of 98. Of course, Marv Albert was the number one guy that year, but of course something happened off the camera. We won't get into it. As LaKeena would say, Google is your friend. But bringing back Bob Costas is nice, but he's going to be calling it the game, LaKeena. I know he replaced Marv Albert for those couple years before Marv Albert got his job back, but I kind of feel just a little bit eerie about that. One, I'm happy that they brought him back for this, but another way is like this brings up some eerie memories for yours truly, and for those that watched those telecasts back in the late 90s.
Yeah, it's sort of weird that, but yeah, I mean, like I said, I think we might see more of this nostalgia. We'll see, but it is sort of weird, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, maybe like I said, there's still a lot of games left. Like I said, they're going to be doing some playoff games as well, so maybe we'll see some of those other faces. Maybe we'll see Rashad and Peter Vesey. So we'll see what happens.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena here with you, kicking it with our girl Christine, the Queen Manika from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Christine, I see you wearing your Fire in the Illini, Illinois sweatshirt. Are you excited about tonight's college basketball game between the Illini and Michigan? It tips off at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on Fox.
You're gonna laugh. It was the first thing I pulled out of the dryer this morning. when you gotta be at the office at 4:30, you just kind of gotta grab it. So I didn't even realize that was tonight. To be honest with you, it's pure coincidence.
But even still, what do you think about? Do you think they have a shot at beating Michigan because they need to win in order to get a piece of that Big Ten regular season title?
They've been playing the best probably that I've seen in a while in the last couple of years. So they got to get Michigan on something, right? If it can't be football for the time being, might as well get them in basketball.
Yep.
As we talked about in our last segment, the final line night, they lost that 23-point lead in that second half at UCLA, lost in ugly fashion. But I expect them to, talking about the Illini, to come out and play big tonight against the best team statistically in the Big Ten. And Christine wearing that sweatshirt, I think it's going to bring good luck. So should the Illini win tonight, we'll give all the credit to Christine.
Yeah,
pure coincidence. Pure coincidence.
We'll give that give them that good luck charm. Good luck charm. If some more sports media news. Some top news, of course, for if you guys the Next Star, of course they own WGN. Is here in Chicago. They laid off a lot of really good people. Of course, one of our buddies from the show, Chris Bowden, who's been covering sports for over 30 years here in Chicago. He's always happy, to come on with us. Those a couple of times he was with us, and he's one of the best in the business. So hopefully he'll land on his feet somewhere. Among some of the other folks that they let go, Dean Richardson, who's been there since '91. I remember Julian Cruz. I remember his very first day. He was working at the morning show. I was still in high school at the time, so I remember him. Judy Wang, who was at the old CLTV. Of course, she joined WGN after that folded. So did Sean Lewis as well. Paul Lisnick, who's a veteran political guy there too. I remember him all his days at a Comcast one, CN 100. So but it wasn't just them though. KTLA out in Los Angeles, they let go a lot of people yesterday. WPIX said, I got to make sure I got the name. WPIX out in New York City, they let go a lot of folks as well as part of the Next Star family. And it's just unfortunate that this is what happens when you let corporates take over your local stations.
Well, it's not even that. So Next Star, it sounds like they're going to get bought out by Tegna. So this is either Next Star or Tegna's way of saving money, and unfortunately that's the beast of this job. That's the beast of I do on a daily basis. And notice how you said veteran reporters. They are getting rid of the highest salaries possible, it is my guess, and people that have been there for a long time that are due for a pay raise or something along those lines. It's very sad. It's never easy. And you can only hope for the best for all of them going through that right now. It's not easy. It strains the newsroom, the local newsroom. This is just as hard on them as it is for viewers like us.
Yeah, well put, Christine. And of course, this is the ugly side of the business. When you sign up for this, no one tells you about this. And I heard this all first, LaKeena. You know this too, going to the old Illinois media school. That you don't become a veteran of this business until you get fired. And so, hopefully, as I tell people all the time, you get fired because of something else, not because of what you didn't do. Take care of yourself. If you get fired because of something like this, that's people understand. But if you get fired because you didn't show up on time, you didn't do what you're supposed to do, that's on you. But I wanted to give a quick shout out to Julian Cruz Quigley. He was the first speaker that came to my classroom when I went to the old IMS campus out in Lombard. Julian Cruz was the first guest that came into my classroom. So he's been there for a very long time. And hopefully all those people that were let go, they'll find great work, because they'll be definitely assets to any newsroom.
Well said. Absolutely. Anything else before we disperse, folks?
Not that I can think of.
Sid, anything?
I'm trying to enjoy the 62-degree weather before it turns cold again over the weekend. At least here in Chicago, anyway.
Yeah, we won't think about that now.
Yeah, that's this is pneumonia weather, folks. So yeah, please don't dress like try to get a tan, please. but even still, real quick, Paramount, they put in an offer. They looks like they're gonna get the Warner Bros. Discovery, and I think this bodes well for when the NFL, especially when they opt out of that current TV deal in 2029. Maybe this will help them, help CBS keep some of those NFL games. Like I said, we talked about it, that the streaming services like Netflix and Prime, they make it five more games or the new deal. So I think this will definitely help them in that respect.
With the Netflix, they have the opening night of Major League Baseball with the Giants and the San Francisco Giants and the New York Yankees. So they're in it, and also they're in the new home lease for the next 3 years for Home Run Derby. So they're going to tap in there. Of course, they're the home of the Christmas Day games as well. So it can open avenues up for them as well. So watch out for Netflix. They could be a sneaky one at play here to get more live sporting events.
Any thoughts, Christine?
It's all turning to streaming eventually, right? That's kind of the world that we're living in now.
Yeah, that is very true. So again, anything else before we disperse, folks? Anything?
I'm good.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Oh, all right. Let's wrap up here so Sid can enjoy the 62 degrees outside right now here in Chicago. You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, Kena's going to be in the IG.
Even though it's going to be a few hours, I'm going to hold on to it real tight like a true Chicagoan. You can follow your on Twitter, X, and the IG is SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Christine, where can lovely people follow you on social media?
They can follow me at Manika_KXRB.
All right, be sure to catch Second City Sports Live in Living Color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports Live in Living Color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And if you miss a segment of the show, if you miss our interviews, you miss our girl Christine or our picks, what have you, no worries. You can catch the replays anytime, anywhere on the Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. One more time, you can catch replays of our show, Sean Sierra Sports, the Smoke Fellas. Catch it anytime, anywhere on the Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels.
And we will provide.
All right. Well, look, if it is in the 60s out there, right now, enjoy it for the next couple of hours. I know folks in out east are preparing for another snowstorm, so you guys hang in there, folks. Just enjoy all the sports, your college hoops, your NBA, your spring training baseball as well, and also the combine coverage. I know it's going to be prevalent throughout the weekend on ESPN and NFL Network. So for Sid and Christine, I'm LaKeena with Second City Sports on Sports Chicago, and we'll see you guys on Monday.
Holla!